Hello, this is Justin and Antonio. We're reviewing anime. Again. Kind of.
Okay. This scene, this is art. This is dynamic. This is deep.
It's not normal. This is not going to be a normal review. We're going to do our best of 2018 list for this review in quotations.
This scene contorts the perceived elegance of youth and blends fragile existence with the harshness of nature's oppression. You are not so pretty. It's a great list.
It's a great list. We're not going to really go super into the stuffs. So we're just going to say what anime that we really love for 2018.
Watch these shows.
What? Yeah, watch these shows. These shows are great.
I will end you. You're gonna run away with your tail between your legs, aren't you? I eat loser kids like you for breakfast.
Nita teaches Hina how to be a gangster. These shows are better than other shows.
All of them, I think, are underrated except for one of them.
Oh yeah, one is properly rated and everything else is underrated.
Which is a lot of shows that we watch, honestly, because I think we're huge hipsters. But anyway, Antonio, how about you start? What's your best of 2018? Top 5.
Well, there's only really 5. Okay, so I like After the Rain.
Okay.
I like Release the Spyce. I like Hinamatsuri. And I also like Citrus.
Okay. Was that 5?
Well,
That was
there's
4.
one more. It's still airing, but I really like it. It's the Sumo anime.
Hinomaruzumo.
Yes, that one.
My list is very close to your list. Not surprisingly, because we watch a lot of anime together. Citrus.
So what's your contact info? A cell phone? They confiscated mine, no fair. They can't take it away if they don't know it's there.
After the Rain. Release the Spyce. Hinamatsuri. Hinamatsuri is the big one.
No fair, you have one more meatball than me. Mine.
So, hey, the other day, I ran into Anzu. It just got me thinking maybe I ought to let Anzu live here instead of you.
Wait,
And Pop Team Epic, which is such a controversial choice.
お客さんをつなぎ止めるうわーうわビンビビンピロピロピロピロギャンギャンキュイーンジャジャジャジャジャジャンギャンお客さんは来てしまうもっと早くもっと早く
That I know a lot of you will hate me for it.
Whoa, who doesn't like Pop Team Epic?
I think everyone on the internet hates Pop Team Epic.
Really?
Okay, let's get rid of Pop Team Epic first because I think we both have a
talk about that. We
Yeah.
have to talk about Pop Team Epic sometime if you're
So-
right now.
So Pop Team Epic is silly, right? Pop Team Epic is silly. If you watch the first episode, I don't really like the first episode that much. Second episode, I don't like it that much either, etc., etc. But Pop Team Epic has really great moments in it. Like some of the sketches are amazing, and I think toward the latter end of the series, it began being really, really funny to me, to the point where I was just like, I could watch the same episode twice, which is actually how the show operates. It'll have one set of voice actors for like one episode, and then they'll do the episode again of a second set of voice actors. Sometimes both copies of the same episode will have different variations to it, but I'll talk about that later. I think the moment I began loving Pop Team Epic is the video that I showed you, because I think you clocked out from watching Pop Team Epic after a while, right? It was airing on Toonami. That's how I caught it.
Well, yeah, yeah, I wasn't really into Top Team Ethic, but I don't think it's controversial though.
I was watching the amazing Hell Shake Yano
Oh, that
segment.
was great.
That's beautiful. I immediately
That's legendary.
the moment the next time that we met, like I was like, dude, you have to watch the Hell Shake Yano section. Like I've watched that like multiple times. It's so it might be the greatest thing I've ever seen in anime.
When I watched it, it was entirely novel. I was like, haven't seen someone do this before on a television show.
It's freaking hilarious. It's not like hilarious, so like it's a joke a minute, but it's like you're watching, you're like, wow, I can't believe somebody put all of this effort to make this.
You need a real visionary to do something like that. I'm serious.
Well, those guys do they do like scenes like that frequently with like notepads. I'm not gonna spoil it. You watch it for
I'll
yourself.
watch it.
Yeah,
That was actually good.
they do it with stuff like that, but I've never seen it to this. I've never seen like any of their sketches like in the same scale as Hell Shake Yano. Other than that, there are other great segments in Pop Team Epic. I think the next episode is like Mafia with bamboo people, which I didn't find was very funny. It might depend on my knowledge of that genre. Um, and then there was yeah, it's just like uneven. Pop Team Epic is uneven where it's like okay, you get the joke or you don't get the joke. There's a wonderful moment where they are doing one of the episodes, but the first voice acted episodes is like The Shining, basically a Shining parody, and then the second voice acted episode is basically it's the same Shining parody, it's the same skit, but then you have like a guy in an obviously taped mustache, like commentating over the skit. Like that was so weird. Like I had to appreciate it. And then I think the last episode's great, where they sing a song about the tree of the heart, and they also sing about how they will hate people forever and punch them in the face.
What?
It's great. No, I think I love that song.
Misanthropic song, best misanthropic song of 2018.
So I know in the beginning of the review, we did say that you should totally check out every series. Pop Team Epic is one of those where you could watch it or you could leave it. I think, but to me, it's just like because there are certain moments in it that were so unique. I had to say like it's like Excel Saga, or it's like another anime that is just like all experimentation.
So
Like
why
Space
is this,
Dandy, like you should totally watch it, even if you don't like it.
why is this controversial? Pop Team Epic.
I think people think it's stupid because of the whole, because it's just like people can look at it and be like, oh, this isn't funny.
Well,
Like this is just silly. They're like troll.
but well, I mean, I'm sure I had a similar reaction when I saw this. It was like, oh, so just one of those things. I'm not really feeling it right now, so I'll give it a pass. Much different from saying it's not good.
It's of course, yeah. Oh, like see, that's the baffling thing about Pop Team Epic, right? Like people can watch like Sword Art Online, which is like hovering over the thighs of a 16-year-old girl, or show like
Yeah,
this
it's
like
literally
really
happening.
graphic rape scene, and people be like, "Oh, this is awesome," and then they'll watch Pop Team Epic and be like, "What? This is garbage."
I
And
don't
it's
think
just
people
like,
thought the graphic rape scene was awesome.
I okay. What
But they
is
still
what
watch it. They
what
still
is
watch that show.
what is Elisazation's score on MAL right now?
I think Goblin Slayer is actually higher than Elysiazation. And
But
on
but
fall.
but still, it's like yeah, I don't know. Like one thing is like I don't want to say it's morally reprehensible, but it's like cringe. It's like cringe worthy. And the other is just stupid. Pop Team Epic is just stupid, and I'm okay with it if it's just stupid, honestly.
Well, it's not stupid. It's very clever.
So moving on,
Okay.
Pop Team Epic. We want to talk about let's talk about Hinomaruzumo, right? There's another anime. It's not on my list, but it's on your list.
I call it sumo anime
It's called
because I can't remember that name. I just forgot. You just said it. I can't remember it. I call it sumo anime because it's sumo anime. It's teenagers doing shonen things, and the shonen thing is sumo,
that's the
but they
thing.
do it very well.
That's the thing about Hinomaruzumo, where it's like Hinomaruzumo is a very by the book shonen, but it's also like unique and different because when you think of a shonen protagonist, you think of this skinny, like you think of this skinny, handsome guy, right? It's like Hinomaruzumo is like the complete opposite of that. Like none of the protagonists are well, some of the characters are good looking, but like Hinomaru's not. You know, he's like he's not fat, but he's like thick. He's not your
He's
image of
five
what a
feet
Japanese
tall.
protagonist. Yeah, he's short too. And then you have like Ozeki, who is like the captain of the team. He's fat. Like he's just
But
fat.
but you're sumo. But
Yeah,
they're sumos. They're supposed to look kind of fat.
that's why it's interesting. And it's like and it's like so this is the thing. We looked at the whole what was it fall 2018 catalog, and I looked at Hiro Marzuma. I was like, okay, this looks bad, and then I was like, we have to watch
I,
it.
I said, wait, did I say we have to watch it?
I said we had to watch it. And I think you rolled
Oh,
your eye. You rolled your eyes when you was like, why we have to watch this?
oh yeah, that makes sense. I remember I watched this like, oh, this looks like another generic shonen anime that's going to be by the books and by the numbers and by the boringness.
But we were watching it, and it's like
Really good.
the wrestling match is like super tense. Like we stopped talking. Like we stopped talking. Like once you have like it's just two dudes like grabbing at each other, and
Well,
it's just like like my breath is taken out of my body.
well, it's not just two guys grabbing each other. It's also ideologies clashing with each other.
It's like the
And
willpower of both, like the strength of both contestants against each other.
and there's a lot of and I'm saying it's not a lot of those matches. There's a lot of technical ingenuity going on in there. It's like you have to pay attention to understand what's happening, what they're doing to each other.
Yeah.
It's like Naruto before Sasuke went on his moody rampage and left.
Another thing about Hiro Maruzumo too is that it's like funny. Like that's strange. I
I think that visually it's hilarious in a sense that these guys are. I'm supposed to believe these guys are 15 years old, 16 years old. These
okay,
guys look like 27-year-old men.
that's a
Oh
very
my
good
god,
point.
that's like hilarious. I mean, these guys are huge. These guys are taller than like these guys are 6 feet, 7 feet tall.
But
Gosh,
we would there's I think there's like an after credits scene, right? The after credits scene is like one of the funnier things that we would watch like in anime in fall 2018. I mean, I don't know, it's like you like these characters. I mean, you have to be a real cynical asshole to not like these characters, I think, personally. They have their goals, they have their dreams, they want to do stuff. Yeah.
it organizes that very well because it's like maybe it's just a breath of fresh air in the sense that it's better than most shonen we've seen. That makes it look very good.
It's,
Or maybe it is very good.
I think sports competition shonen, well, I mean, compared to Black Clover, obviously. And what else have we seen? Boruto? Fuck that.
Oh,
Yeah,
oh
it's
my
like
god,
Bor
that's like the
Boruto.
worst.
Yeah, like Boruto and Black Clover don't have a goal. Like Asta wants to become like the Wizard King, right? But like the Wizard King, it's like saying like I want to be president of the United States, and you are seeing someone's path. Actually,
Um,
even that has a clear path. Like
well,
like him. Like the thing about Black Clover is that it's not very specific about him becoming the Wizard King. It's
well,
about him going on adventures and hitting
uh,
things with a sword.
it reminds me of Naruto. The only reason Naruto is Hokage is because I think they say the strongest ninja is the Hokage.
Yeah.
And Naruto's Hokage because of that Nine Tails.
Yes.
If it weren't, if he, it would be Shikamaru. If Shikamaru would be Hokage if it weren't for Naruto's
Yeah,
overpower.
Shikamaru would be a better
Because Shikamaru is smart.
So, but that's the thing. Like Hinomaruzumo, there's a clear goal. There's a clear path.
There's a way to do it.
Yeah, there's a clear
And-
path to achieve that goal. It's not like Naruto or Boruto, Black Clover, where it's just like, oh, we do stuff and then we kind of get to our goal at the end.
Well, and it's not. It's like, yeah, it's clear and it's defined, and we're in the realm where I think Hino has like maybe a 30-20% chance of actually doing all the work.
That's also interesting. Like he knows Hinomaru's specific conflict in becoming. Like he wants to be a Yokozuna. This is the premise of the anime is that Hinomaru.
So
He's like 4 feet 11 inches or something like that.
4'11" or 5.
Yeah. Like he's really short. He is too short to be a Yokozuna, which is
I
the
think-
highest level of sumo.
Now
So
that I
the
know more
idea
about this-
the idea is that he has to win the high school tournament in order to actually be able to compete with pros, like pro sumo wrestlers. That's the only way that he can enter the pro circuit, essentially. And so that's like the conflict in the anime. Like you can say that we know that he will win the tournament at the end, but it's still interesting to see how he wins the tournament. You know?
I don't know. One of the things I'm looking forward is that I don't really think he can become the best sumo.
That's possible too.
Well, I don't see that happening. Well, I mean, like, maybe down the line we'll see what's what.
Yeah.
But because he's just short.
Yeah, he's really short.
But he can become. But him becoming pro, I can see that happening because he's really good.
Yeah.
He might not win the tournament, or he might win the tournament. So we got to see what happens because like he has a shot, but that's where the stakes are.
Yeah.
And since they established a way you can win and a way you can lose, and that's one reason why I'm so hooked on it.
It's so personally, I'm a huge fan of a boxing manga called Hajime no Ippo. If you like that anime or you like that series, check out Hinomaruzumo. It's really great.
So
I recommend
are they
it.
similar?
What?
Are they like similar? Or are they like good shonen? Is what I'm saying.
They're both like Hinomaruzumo is highly technical when it comes to the sumo aspect of it. Hajime no Ippo is very similar, where it's very technical when it comes to the boxing aspect of it. Honestly, I would actually recommend that we watch Hajime no Ippo because it's a pretty good series. It's
Maybe
been
you can note that down. I want to check out at least the first couple episodes.
I only want to say that Hinomaruzumo is not in my best of 2018 list because like I want to give room to other like weirder, possibly less like more overlooked anime.
Also, technically, it's still airing.
So it's also technically still airing. Like I'm more of like my own personal taste is I'm more into like realistic or absurd fiction. So, but it's a great show. I don't want to undermine it at all.
Realistic, absurd. You mean when you say realistic, you're talking about more grounded things, right?
Yes, like absurd would be Pop Team Epic, and realistic would be another anime that's on both of our lists, which is After the Rain.
Yeah, let's talk about that actually.
Let's talk about how Wit Studio is. I don't know if it's like underrated, but like people talk about like Studio Trigger, and Studio Trigger sucks. I'm sorry. I love it. The only, I mean, personally for me, I know you like Little Witch Academia, but like Kill la Kill is the only thing, and Space Patrol Luco is the only thing that
Space Patrol, Kill la Kill.
Yeah, like Studio Trigger has made that is good. Like, and they're all both made by Imaishi. Everything else that they've made sucks. I'm sorry.
I don't know. I'm not going to agree, but I will agree. Studio Trigger. If I look at, okay, so it's like they're on a ramp downward in terms of what appeals to me.
I mean, Promare better kick ass. But it's also made by Imaishi, so it's like, what can you do?
But we now know it's a movie, not a TV series.
Oh yeah, it's a. Okay, we can't talk about Studio Trigger, but which studio has made pretty darn good anime that like no, like okay, Habanero of the Iron Fortress. I haven't seen it. It looks okay. I'm
I
not
think we
super
should
interested in it.
maybe we should check out the first couple episodes of that.
Maybe we should. But Attack on Titan is
But
good.
yeah, well,
Season
that's the
3 was
most
really
famous.
good. Yeah, yeah, yeah. But we've watched like Rolling Girls. Like Wood Studio also made an anime called Rolling Girls in 2016, right? 2015?
It was 2015.
2015. That's like one of my favorite anime of the freaking decade. Like it's such I have the DVD. I literally had to buy it. I was like
Yeah, he doesn't buy stuff, guys.
like I had to buy it. I was like I have to buy this. I need a physical copy of
I
this.
don't understand why people it's not so high in the Mal ratings.
It's ridiculously underrated. But Wood Studio made Rolling Girls, and they also made After the Rain, which
Yes.
is just great. Like it's a
lot-
great like you wanna talk about it?
no, you have a good. I can't think of a good segue. You keep going. Sorry.
So After the Rain is about this girl who is sort of like in this weird slump in her life. Like she at one point in life she's kind of awkward. Um, her passion in life previously, maybe like a year ago or so, was like running. She had this huge passion for running,
She was a track person.
basically, and people looked up to her and admired her for her ability to run. And then at some point, she has a really critical injury, and I believe it's on her ankle,
Yes.
or is it her Achilles heel? I don't remember actually. I think it's the ankle.
The thing is, it's one who doesn't matter.
Okay.
The details don't matter. She
Yeah.
can't run. Doctor said don't do it.
Yeah, yeah, you can't run anymore, you fool. And I don't know why I said. But anyway, and so she sort of like it sort of distances her away from her friends, the friends that she has met at her like high school track club and everyone that she's known. And so she begins to work at this restaurant whose owner that she comes to have like a romantic interest in. That's kind of how the story plods. Why did I say plods? Plops goes along. I don't know why it took me so long to find the right word. I love it. Well, okay, it's a good anime. I think the first half is like my kind of jam, where it's like the relationship between Akira and Mr. Kondo. I don't know if that's his surname or that's his
It's
like
surname.
it's a surname, and Mr.
Yeah.
Kondo. Like Mr. Kondo is the character that, like for whatever reason, I have like this total empathy for, or like really draws me. I'm not sure if I have empathy for that character, but really draws me. Where he's divorced, right? He's like
Middle aged.
he doesn't yeah he's middle aged. He's not having like he's mature enough to like not have a crisis. Like he's not like panicking or anything. He's not anxious, but there's like this like deep melancholy in him where he's just like I don't know what I'm doing in my life. And it's really like it's really sad. There's a moment in episode 3 where he picks up like the dried up husk of a cicada. He just like shatters it. And he just says I'm old. Like he just says it in plain English. I'm old.
So what I think what the show is trying to say is like, how do we depict people's position in their lives? Because this is a common position where people are in.
Yeah.
Not necessarily like specifically, like people are in a position where they feel like they're insufficient to keep going on, and so they don't think they deserve or should go forward into the things that they find the most meaning in.
It's great because it's not overly dramatic. Like it's not like Violet Evergarden where like the sadness is like overly like it's exaggerated, right? I think like the first half is great because it really explores like him. Really explores it does it really slowly too, where it's just like in the beginning he's just this dude who manages this restaurant that not that many people go to. The anime is subtle enough to show that like the restaurant's not packed and crammed full of people. It's like sometimes like 2 booths are occupied, like at a certain given amount of time, and it's like it's basically the Denny's of Japan, And so you're looking at this guy, and he's just like managing this restaurant, and the employees like give him no respect whatsoever. And you're like, okay, like he's weird. And then you get to know like his like kid, his relationship with his kid, the state of like his not bachelorhood, but his singlehood, how his apartment looks like. It looks like trash, you know. He has trash everywhere. It's the most realistic depiction of a bachelor's apartment.
He's not a bachelor.
He's not even a bachelor. That's what makes
Like,
it even more sad.
but the thing is, one of the things it illustrates is since he's middle aged and he feels, and it paints this clearly, that the potential that he has, well, it's lost. As you get older, you lose your potential.
Yeah.
And so he's people. We get that he doesn't have as much potential as he did when he was in his 20s. You know, it's like
And
there's
and
potential. Well,
and it's like he's not like crying over it. He's not like overly upset over it. He's not
probably
like
over that.
sense of maturity that comes out of him or a sense of strength, or he's just like, I'm just resigned to it.
I don't
Like,
know if it's a sense of strength. It might be a sense of how do I deal with this that doesn't upset people. It's not the same thing.
yeah. Oh, no, yeah, yeah. Like, how do I deal with this without breaking down in front of my son?
Well,
Without
because
like,
yeah.
because like I have these employees that also depend on me. I have to take care of myself. Like, I can't just be
So he doesn't
sad.
have time to be mopey and dopey like she is. 'Cause
Yeah.
she's a kid. She has lots of time,
Yeah.
but she doesn't run anymore. Well, one of the things, I mean, like, I don't know what she wants to do in her life. I imagine that if she, she's an athlete, but after she gets to a certain age, she can't really be a pro athlete anymore.
I think that's the thing about her. Like, that's why she's an interesting character to dwell on because she doesn't know what she wants in life. She's meeting this person who she knows absolutely nothing about. She's never met this type of person before, Mr. the manager, Mr. Kondo. And she has no sense of perspective as to what he's interested in and what makes him tick.
Oh
And
yeah,
that's
she doesn't.
yeah, and it's like that level of curiosity, that willingness to like sort of embrace what most people would find like uninteresting and boring, which is the life of this like failed novelist,
Yeah.
and this single parent
Yeah.
is it's I don't know, it's interesting. It's like
She is somewhat interested in him and through that, even though she normally wouldn't be interested in literature because I don't think she's the type of person
yeah,
that's like she's not like for example in terms of trait openness, she's not as high as he is because she's not.
yeah.
But she does that. She wants to know more about him, so that ambition fuels her to go pursue something she's not normally interested in.
Her sincerity, she has like utter sincerity when it comes to like actually trying to get to know him. And it's like you like her character.
And then
It's
like so when we say she actually likes him or loves him or wants that just demonstrates it right there.
yeah.
That pursuit.
I will say like I think I wish there was more of a development between their relationship at the end of the anime because as I said, I'm trying really hard not to spoil it, but it just sort of ends. The series sort of just ends. So
Well, I mean, it is technically. I mean, not technically. It's kind of a commercial for the manga. Kind of.
yeah,
It's like go watch the manga.
I don't know because you could say the same thing for Princess Jellyfish, but I bet you there are so many people who would literally like take like a whole armory full of guns just to get a studio to make a season 2 of Princess Jellyfish.
I really wish they did that.
I'm shocked that there's no season 2 of Princess Jellyfish.
Well, I mean, I'm
What's
not
going
sure.
on there?
They can't. I don't know if they can make money off that.
Oh, I will pay for it. You have the DVD of Princess
Oh, yeah,
Jellyfish.
that's why I liked it. That's how much I showed you.
I would do it too. I would honestly get a physical copy too. It's a great show. But anyway, we're not here to talk about Princess Jellyfish. But yeah, After the Rain is great. It's not like perfectly realistic, but like if you're really into like the psychological aspect of these characters of this relationship, um, and there's also there's a poetic nature to it too that comes from Mr. Kondo. But if you like that aspect of it, I highly recommend it. After the Rain. It's a great show. Koe wa Amiyagari. Is that what's called in Japanese?
I just type in the English name, you'll find it.
Okay. But speaking of realistic, poetic, let's talk about the complete opposite of that.
Oh shoot.
And you know what we're talking about. We're gonna talk about an amazing show called Citrus.
Name dropped it.
Okay, I'm gonna be totally honest. Citrus, I don't like it because it's good. I like it because I laugh at it. It's a really funny show. Citrus is funny when it wants to be funny, and Citrus is not as funny when it doesn't want to be funny. That's how great the show is. Like you have like a character like Harume, like she's funny. Harume is funny. Like she's genuinely funny. Yeah, Harume.
I would be down for a show about Harume.
Harume's great. She's the girl who hides things in her breasts all the time. She's awesome. I love her. She's hilarious. But like she's actually genuinely funny. Yuzu, the main character of Citrus, is funny, but the premise of Citrus, she herself is also funny. But the premise of Citrus is that Yuzu, I think she goes through middle school sort of being like a punk, not a punk, but not a delinquent either, but like she's not super academic. And then when she goes to high school, she goes like this really strict all girls academic school, right? And like the very first thing that happens when she goes to the school is that she pisses off the school president, but then the school president decides to make out with her in front of the school. And you watch that and you're like, what is going on? Like what just happened? And then Yuzu has the same reaction as we do. Like, yeah, I don't know what just happened. And then she goes home, and then she finds out that the class president is her stepsister. Like,
now not all that fucking shit is at home now.
I think like was it the first episode when her stepsister tries to rape her?
I don't know.
Listen, okay.
That happened though.
Guys, so. Audience, right? We are not monsters. Rape is not funny. Citrus is funny though. Citrus is really funny. Okay, it's cartoon. It's a cartoon. Okay, like give me some slack. I'm not a monster.
No. This is an exploration of an idea, and the idea isn't necessarily rendered realistic because they're not going for that. Obviously.
Can I make a slight amendment to what you said?
What up?
It's an exploitation of an idea.
I don't know. Just trying to make a lot of money.
It's an exploitation of Yuri and its tropes.
The thing is, if you want to, this is not a representation of a Yuri relationship. Genuinely.
See, we watched what was it, Bloom Into You? That was called.
That's a boring piece.
That show's boring. Like it's just like, oh, like here are these two people, they love each other or something, and here's like drama, right? That's boring. Okay, Citrus is great. Citrus is so absurd. It's so Citrus is like the complete opposite of Bloom Into You.
It's interesting. It's actually interesting, and it just doesn't do absurd things for the sake of being absurd.
You can watch the plot of Citrus, and you can be entertained by the plot of Citrus too. There's the second arc of Citrus, I believe it's the second arc, is when like Yuzu meets one of her friends, her old friends from middle school, and then like her friend implicates her or implicates like tries to blackmail her Yuzu's stepsister, whose name's May, by the way. She tries to implicate May in like rape or like some sort of like sexual relationship with one of her teachers in order for her to step off from Yuzu, because Yuzu's friend is also in love with Yuzu and also wants to lesbian with Yuzu. And it's just
lesbian with Yuzu?
Remember the pink hair girl? I forgot her name.
Oh, that little.
Yeah, Yuzu's friend. Yeah, and it's just like you watch and you're like, you know what? I kind of do want to see how this resolves itself. Like, how does May get out of this situation where she's being blackmailed?
How did she get out of it? I forgot.
Oh, I kind of forgot to actually.
She gets out of it.
It's just ridiculous how many people want to rape like Yuzu. It's so weird. And like you're watching and you're like, you know what? This Japanese people think that this is awesome. And that makes it funnier. Like cuz it's just like this is so weird. Like
I the thing is, you can't. I don't know how seriously you can take all of this stuff, but I don't think that's the point of the show.
I think
Like,
it is the point of the show. I think we laugh at it cuz we're
well, I mean, I don't think it
assholes.
takes. I don't think it takes itself. Wait, does it take itself seriously? Do you think it
I
takes itself
honestly I'm
seriously?
not sure. I actually can't tell
But
because the
I'm
show
thinking
is funny. The show is part comedy.
it's like it's not like this is how a super serious relationship with lesbians goes, because I don't think Yuzu is a lesbian. She's probably just bi.
It's and yeah, it's like the last arc of the anime is Yuzu trying to confess. Yuzu's trying to figure out what her relationship to Mei, her stepsister, is, and ultimately trying to confess to.
Incest as well. I forgot about that.
Yeah, trying to
This
make
is
Mei confess to her,
this is also incest and Yuri.
and it's
All
like
the taboos together.
you can look at them and be like, wow, this is stupid, but it's like it's an engaging story at the end. You know
But,
you
but
Yuzu has a goal.
I
She
mean,
wants to accomplish that goal. Eh,
we have a lot of lesbian shows. We watched the first episodes of Mini,
Yeah,
and this is the
we
one that
watched
we
Listen to
actually watched
Bluebird.
through.
Yeah,
Oh, we listened to Bluebird.
yeah, Listen to
Oh my
Bluebird. We
god,
watched
we
Bloom
can't
Into
even do
You.
we can't even do a review of that because
Oh, we probably could.
I mean it won't be that long.
Oh, it wouldn't be long. We would just say it sucked. I mean I wasn't even paying attention. I
No,
was reading
no,
Hunter x Hunter on my phone. I guess we'll probably talk about that sometime in the future, honestly. Anyway, but yeah, so Citrus, again, I don't know if we can recommend Citrus because it's just so weird.
I do not recommend Citrus.
If you want to see a funny bad anime, watch Citrus. Citrus is just it hurts your head.
I do not recommend Citrus because I think it's bad. I do not recommend Citrus because I think that's the politically correct thing to do.
If you're like a if you're like a fan of things like Garzy's Wing, which is like another funny bad anime, like yeah, Citrus, it's great. I recommend it. I'm not gonna hide from it. I love it. I love
Right.
it.
Uh,
And I think we're down to our last show.
This is an audio edit. We have one more show to talk about. Let's continue.
Which is another show that has kind of Yuri aspects to it, but yeah, Release the Space, but it's not like super in your face about it, obviously, like Citrus. Release the Spice.
It's
It
Spyce.
yes,
Spyce Girls.
it's a great show.
Yeah,
It's
go watch
also
it right now.
underrated.
Go watch it right now.
So really,
Give it an 8 out of 10.
so Release the Spice, I think it turns people off because the first episode is like a is stereotypical.
Wait. What happened in the first episode?
The first episode is the Spice Girls are doing like the spy operation, and they're doing spy stuff, and then the Momo, who's the main character, is watching them do spy stuff, and then she wants to join their spy operation as she watches them do it. And later on, there's a climax in the first episode where they have to stop. I believe it's like a drug sting or like thievery or something, and robots get cut in half, stuff like that.
I think it's okay. I think that's a deceptive, not deceptive. I think it's an unclear. Like now that you're describing it, I'm remembering the show, and then I remember why that actually works after you've seen so many episodes of the show.
Yeah, like
because it's the relationships. Like all these spies in their organization, they're very close to each other. They can trust each other very well, and they train each other, particularly in a manner that shows loyalty, that
yeah.
really and competency.
As you watch the series, you get to understand that like the series is rather well thought out. When you've watched the first episode, you're like, okay, I've seen this anime before, right? I get that. You've seen anime before. It's cute girls doing kung fu and they hit stuff and blah blah blah. They hit bad guys, and you think that the rest of the anime will never be the first episode, right? It's like it's just like oh, like That's how a lot of anime is. Is like the first episode or like very few episodes, we put all of our budget in, and then after that, it's just girls eating tea, drinking tea and eating cake, right? Release the Spice is not that. Like Release the Spice actually has a plot, and it actually has an escalation of that plot. Like it's actually very, very well written.
Well,
Like shockingly so.
I think maybe the first episode was not. I think they the first episode they had some. I guess they didn't really they weren't really sure on how to present the series in a sense that when you watch the first episode, you don't know that you're going to get a show about relationships, as this is what the show kind of is.
You think that most of the characters introduced will be like not like useless to the overall story. Like it's really going to center about around like one or two characters, right? Because it's like you see like the blonde hair girl, and you're like, oh okay, like background character or like side character.
You see the pink haired girl, and you're like, okay, main character. We all know who she is.
Yeah, because she has colorful hair. But then
She's
it's
pink
like,
hair, yeah.
but then as you watch the series, it's like, oh, it makes perfect sense to center the story around the pink hair girl. Pink hair
Because that's
girl
how
has to actually work really hard to be a Spice. Like you
she's a
watch her.
great she's a great conduit into our insight of all these other characters.
Yeah. Who also have like these personalities. They're not like the greatest personalities, but you get to like them and you get to like their weird character quirks. Fu, purple hair, pigtails girl, Hatsume, blonde girl, Goemon, who's the long hair, tall girl who beats the shit out of everybody, as you find out later on in the show. It's pretty intense, but it's yeah, it's great. Like shortly afterwards, they go into like a drug sting in the town that they're in at the moment, and the drug sting involves like these various mercenaries, the shadow organization, and they try to figure out like the identity of the folks in the other organization, but then the other organizations also try to figure them out so that they can sort of like smoke them out and kill like the spies essentially. The spies are called Tsukikage, I believe.
There's a lot of technical stuff that would keep you interested, actually.
It's wonderful. I keep saying that over and over
Well,
again,
I'm
but
saying that to me, how I see this, it's like there's the relationships are the most important part of the show to me. The the spy stuff, the technical spies versus spies, is to me it feels like it's like an a thing that decorates the relationships. It is a very good. It complements the decoration.
yeah.
Like it multiplies it to a higher result.
I do want to say that like the relationships between characters are not super complex, but they are very like sincere and genuine. Like one of the episodes is I believe it's Fu and brown hair girl, whose actually name I don't remember that well. They're
May
It's not May, but it's like they have a peer mentor relationship. They have like a falling out basically. It's fairly
Guitar Girl.
simple. Guitar girl. And then they get back together at the end of the episode. And you're like, okay, well that was obvious. Like that character arc is obvious. But it's like it's so sincere about it. The characters are so sincere. They really feel bad about what has happened. Um, and they that's not so much that they really try, but like you kind of get what their plight is or like what their argument is about in the first place.
This kind of reminds me of
And and there's like you really get the emotion from it. So it's like I mean, yes, it's not like the most like the smartest thing ever, but it comes off as
oh, I think it's smart, and here's why I think it's smart. It's smart because they're not going beyond their means.
it's not so much that it's subtle, but it's not exaggerating.
Oh, yeah. That's what I mean. That's what I mean.
Yeah.
It's not. It's not. Um, this isn't something to think too hard about while you're watching it. I think that's what you're going for. What it's not going for. Sorry. And it reminds me of because like the relationship they have is Fu, the purple hair girl.
She's conscientious.
She's conscientious. She like or things to be orderly, and
She's
her
just a
friend,
clean
her
roommate.
mentor,
Yeah.
guitar girl. She's not very. She's none of those things. She's quite disorderly, and it doesn't no, seemingly doesn't look like she pays much to attention, but she does because she's a spy.
But there's like this awkwardness because she's the mentor. She literally has more experience than she does, but Fu is offended because she is the more responsible of the two. And that's why it's like there's this awkwardness between them. Because it's just like, yeah, I mean, like I'm better than you at being a spy, but I'm also just a terrible roommate in general.
But they get over it. Or not get over it. They the relationship.
They realize that like
Break, yeah,
yeah. They realize that it's harder to be separated from each other than not.
they realize they would much rather. I mean, they realize after being away, they realize they would much rather fix up whatever relationship issues they have and deal with whatever things that might happen in the future because of that. Uh, what discontinuity with their personalities?
Yeah.
They would deal with that. They want to deal with that rather than not dealing with each other at all because they really like each other.
And then that's not even like that's like just one episode. Like the real relationship that's important is the real relationship is between Momo and her mentor, whose name I forgot.
Yuki.
Yuki, thank you. Momo and Yuki. Who
You
Yuki is
like
like
Yuki.
what?
You didn't like Yuki at
I
first.
thought she was a bitch. Like, okay, so Yuki is really strict, right?
Okay.
Yuki is just like, I train every day. I run like 10 miles every day. I practice, like, I do like 500 push-ups a day, even though she's a skinny
Saitama
Japanese
routine.
girl. She's just, she does it even more. She outdoes Saitama.
Oh yeah.
But for her, it's just like, at the end of the mission, I want you alive. Like, that's what's really important to me as your mentor. Like, you have to be alive. And that's why she's really strict with her. And that's why she subjects her to all of this terrible shit, like waking her up in the middle of the
But
night.
that's the thing. It's actually not terrible in the context of what's to become
In the
because
context of the fact that they have to fight assassins, oh yeah, it makes perfect
well,
sense.
it's like yeah, deal with my garbage because my garbage is so much more tolerable than this intolerable people that we might face.
I basically began liking Yuki once she punched someone in the face, and I was just like, that's pretty dope. That's pretty
It's like
awesome. She punched someone in the face, and it was a pretty hard person to
she
punch in the face.
like she's a very disagreeable and combative person, but
Yeah.
she has curtailed that to her enemies will get the sophisticated brunt of that.
It's she's a consistent character. She has a character. She's consistent.
She's
Yeah.
oh my god, it's like why I don't understand why people watch SSS Gridman over this. Like she's just so much more interesting in
She's
that.
great. She's like the stereotypical like strict sensei, but
Well,
it's
I mean,
I,
it's stereotypical, yes, but it's like not stereotypically done. This is done well.
yeah, it's done. Listen, the characters are great. The characters have their own personality. They're distinct from each other in the plot. And then you have this plot that is really tightly wound. You have the setting that is really strongly established, right? All of this together, all of this precision together makes Release of Spice this high precision machine. The fact that all these elements work together is impressive in and of itself. And I think that's the reason why people are not receptive to Release of Spice because it's not you don't commonly see that in anime where it's just like yeah we have this world but the world who cares about the world, right? Like oh the characters are funny blah 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 blah.
I don't know why people think the show's bad. I have to go on Mao
It
and
has
look
a
at it.
7. It has a 7
So,
on Mal.
so,
It's so
so,
strange.
so, so the 7 on Mao, it got a boost up because the show ended recently,
Yeah.
and you gotta see all the good reviews coming. Or like so, this latest reviews are like a 9, a 10, an 8. So it's like the people that finished it are keeping up with it. Generally, I guess that they decide to rate it.
Yeah, I
Uh,
guess I guess I'll have a cult following, honestly. It's great. It's just great.
so
It's silly. There was an episode where they fight a Viking. But well, okay, it's not actually a Viking. It's someone who is proud of their Viking heritage. Like that's still a little silly, but you get it. Like you get it. You get the conflict between the characters, like how they feel, their ideals, and stuff like that. It's not Sword Art Online where it's just like, okay, what's going on?
So
Or
online.
I mean, like even in an app comparison is like Goblin Slayer, where it's just like I mean, Goblin Slayer's probably the best character in Goblin Slayer because he wants to kill goblins. But everyone else in the anime is just like, what are they doing there? I mean, like to be honest, it's just like, oh, okay, like they're just there to be accessories for Goblin Slayer.
At best, Goblin Slayer is a two-dimensional character. At best,
Yeah,
if you can give him that.
but
Everything
like
else,
Release of Spice, the characters are funny. They're I don't want to say they're adaptable, but they're funny. They have this emotional core. They care about things. They want to achieve this objective, which is to help the people in this town that they're located in.
so like I remember a scene where was it Yuki reprimanded Momo because Momo decided to do something that outside of the mission.
Sh-
Like
sh-
she does something her own way.
yeah.
Yeah,
She puts
and it
herself in
gets
like in danger.
and she gets a good result, a
Yeah,
positive, not a bad result. And then Yuki reprimands her because
she slaps her in the face, I
it's
think.
like Momo doesn't understand how poker works.
Yeah,
Like she doesn't
like
understand probabilities of how things can go wrong, and that's like,
I remember that happened. I called Yuki a bitch, which to me proves to me that like she is a character. Like she is a character that like I can't define. Like she exists in her own universe, right? The fact that I like her and the fact that like I don't like her at depending on her actions shows that she is her own independent actor. That's what a story is about. A story is about like rendering people and showing what these people do in this situation. And then you, the audience, reflect on what those people do. It's not that you, the audience, you put your own like fantasy onto the screen. In the vein of like Psychano or something. Fucking
you're right.
shit. Psychano's a bit of an old reference. What is a recent anime that's a good fit? I can't think of anything.
They're all the same. Who
They're all
cares?
the same. Bunny Girl, that one.
Oh,
Yeah.
oh,
The waifu show.
that show's so bad.
No, that show is great. It's strong and beautiful. But anyway, um,
Mhm.
yeah, I think that's it.
Yeah.
Is there anything you want to talk about?
I don't think okay. I don't think this part's worth talking. I was thinking about it's kind of too Yuri when it doesn't need to be.
I I I think that's a fair point to make.
When watching Moo and her guitar girl when they been in the relationship. It's
I
like, oh,
mean,
this
to
is
me, it's
a
just
girl's relationship.
you can look at it in a Yuri perspective, right? Because we've seen so much anime that we were trained to look at it in a Yuri perspective. But to me, it's just like girl friendship can be that close. I mean, you can. There's the aspect where you hate your friends, but I mean, I don't know. I think that's fine.
It-
Like,
it- it's just it's kind of. But I mean, I think one thing that probably more interesting would be that one bad episode. That's getting too much into it.
the one episode where Hatsume meets her old friend, right?
Her old friend and the backstory was just.
Yeah, we didn't enjoy that
I,
particularly too
I would have
much.
preferred if they did something like like an Obi-Wan Kenobi scene where he talked about
Hmm.
Luke's father.
Yeah.
Instead of showing flashbacks and stuff, he just talked about it,
It
and
would.
you could tell from the how he acted.
This is. I don't want to spoil it. Like, okay, watch the show, right? If you watch the show, you'll know what we're talking about. But like, if it would have been nice if the white hair girl just had like a spoken monologue, like you see her facial expression, you see like how like dead her voice is as she begins to recount like what happened to her, possibly to some third party, right? That's fine. And just have a still of her face or something like that. Not even a still of her face, but just like a flat shot or a series of sequences while she recounts her backstory a little bit instead of actually having to graphically show the story.
I think if it were like an adaptation, they probably would have cut that out because
Yeah.
they had to be concise. But I guess I mean, like that whole episode, like half of that episode can just be tossed out.
Yeah.
You know,
Like we get it. Like we get that if you get kidnapped, it's pretty rough.
Well, I mean, it didn't need to be kidnapped. It didn't need to be. It could be anything, really.
I mean, kidnap's fine. Kidnap's fine. I just don't think you have to show the kidnapping in graphic detail. Like, I get it. Girl's poor. She gets kidnapped. She's not gonna be treated well. She gets sold
And
off to a spy organization. Got it.
she's a friend with one of the spies.
Yeah. That's
There you
it.
go.
That's all you need to show.
Anyway,
But
that's that.
that's so the anime that we talked about, our best of 2018, Citrus, After the Rain. I swear to God, it's called Koi no Amiyaguri, but I have to look it up later. After the Rain, Hinamatsuri. Oh my God, we didn't talk about Hinamatsuri.
Oh fuck.
That's the okay. Hinamatsuri. Okay, personally, this is important. Hinamatsuri is probably the best anime of 2018.
Can't believe you forgot that.
This is Hinamatsuri is my favorite. Like it's
I
my.
can't believe
I
you
feel
forgot
so.
that.
I almost feel like I've. Okay, Hinamatsuri is amazing. The
Yeah.
premise of Hinamatsuri is that in the mobster's apartment, a girl appears out of nowhere in a capsule, and she has psychic powers, and that's literally it. That's the premise of the show. Um, it's an amazing show. I'm not joking. I'm not exaggerating either.
It's I think people all think, oh God, this has an 8.3. Bunny
Okay,
Girl's higher rated than this? Are you
like
kidding me?
Hinamatsuri, I believe it's Kids Day, Children's Day in Japan, and it's an incredibly aptly named title for the manga and the anime. It's about children. It's about it's about the curiosity that children have about the world around them. It's about not necessarily the potential that kids have around them, but like what not necessarily what kids do, but sort of like how they receive the world, how they act in the world, the sort of like innocence that they have toward things in the world. Um, and it's not like this huge like thematic thing. It's a comedy. It's like it's first and foremost a comedy.
I look at the synopsis. This- The thing about the synopsis, this whole the first episode, what happens in the first episode, that she's a psychic and she comes from outer space or wherever. It's just a way to. I
Set
think
up,
this was to set up a situation and also to grab in the viewer,
yeah.
because one of the things is this show isn't really you cannot find out what the show is about by reading the synopsis at all.
Like we can literally talk about moments that happen in the show, like isolated out of themselves. And like there's no plot in the show. There is a semblance of like events happening in the show, but there's no plot. There's no like dramatic arc essentially. It's so amazing. Like Hina's love for Salmon Row is always funny. Um, there's a wonderful. We could probably just fill this whole review of just hilarious things that happen in Hinamatsuri. There's a moment where Hino wants to be praised by Nita. Nita is the mobster that is forced to adopt her because
Oh,
if Hina is allowed in real life society, she would break everything with her psychic powers.
I think she wanted to be adopted by him.
She because she likes eating food and she likes showering and she likes having clothes.
If you don't adopt me, I'll fucking murder you.
But Pino wants to be praised by Nita at one point, and so she decides to clean up the apartment. But then she ends up breaking everything. And at one point she's like, I'm gonna take out this like there's a literal bowl of salmon roe that says for Hino when she's good. And then like after she's breaking all of these pots, like this expensive like
Vases.
designer vases, right? Like she just pulls out the bowl and just starts eating from it with a spoon. And it's just like it's just such a small moment, but it's like, oh, that's her character right there. Like she doesn't care. That's the great thing about Hina. Like she's like a kid. She's like a kid. Like she doesn't know what right and wrong is necessarily. She just does things because of her own animal instinct. Like she wants to be praised. She wants to eat delicious food, which is salmon roe. She likes to sleep. She doesn't care about school. It's like the only difference between Hina and another kid is that she has psychic powers, right?
I like the my favorite part. One of my favorite parts about the show is the parent aspect of it.
Oh
Nita
my
has to
God.
actually act like a father. So when the first time when
It
Hina and
honestly Nita has the largest character arc if you can say that in the show, where
Oh, yeah,
it's just like
he does, he does. He cares about children. You know,
I think he contemplates. I want to say he contemplates abandoning Hina at one point.
no. He literally doesn't he like he finds out Hina is lost in the woods. Doesn't he care? He cares about that. You know, he
That's
doesn't
true.
want to.
That's true.
He doesn't want to. He doesn't want to care about it, but he does because he does something.
There are all these moments where Hina like Nita acts like not like a father, like he gives terrible advice to Hina and stuff like that, but he takes care of her, he feeds her, he cooks her, like he's a really good cook, funnily enough. And he gets her clothes, he makes sure that she goes to school and stuff like that. Hina is also supported by a wonderful cast of characters. What is her friend's name again? Do you remember her friend's name? The one who is a bartender. Oh my god! So
That's
episode two, by the way. So
you told me.
Hina is like, Nita, you don't spend enough time with me. And so then Hina and her friend, I think her name starts with an M, right?
What he told me.
Hitomi, thank you. I got it wrong. So Hina and her friend Hitomi decide to follow Nita around, and and they follow him to a gentleman's club because Hina is basically bugging Nita. It's like, he and
Is it a
Nita,
bar or a gentleman's club?
I need you. It's a gentleman's club. It's like,
He took her to and they told me to a gentleman's club.
well, first it was a bar, and then that's when Hitomi finds her knack for mixing drinks. Like the
It's
woman
a
that
knack.
the bartender, the woman bartender there, she's just like, she's so lazy, and she's just like, kid, you're amazing. Like, you will work here. You will work at this bar. Like, you make so much money for
Doesn't
me,
she blackmail?
basically.
She
And
blackmails the kid to work for her.
and then at some point Nita is in the bar, and then the other patrons of the bar begin to drunkenly attack Nita, and she's just like, "Why don't you hang out with your daughter more often, Nita? What's wrong with you?" And then Nita just like looks down. He's just like, "You're right. I'm going to hang out with Hina more often. Come on, girls, let's go to a gentleman's club." And they all go to a gentleman's club. And then I think they literally like parade in the street saying, "We're going to a gentleman's club," like just parading in the street, and everyone's just looking at them. It's like, what is this? What is this like 12-year-old talking about?
She's 12 years old.
So Hitomi's great. Hitomi's character arc is that she becomes a bartender, um, and then she somehow becomes like a major political. She somehow meets like major political figures in the
Political
city.
business figures.
Business figures in the city because she's just such an amazing
Because she
bartender.
can't say no.
She can't say that's
And,
the
and she gets a sequence of events that give her
Hitomi,
so many opportunities.
Hitomi's problem is that she's far too agreeable for her own good.
You know, she easily, she easily could have ended up in the drug, as yakuza drug people, if she said yes to the wrong person. But since she said yes to the right person the right way, now she has all these business opportunities. She can just drop out of school. She'll be a top executive by the time she's 22.
So, Hitomi is also Hina's like drool wiper in class because Hina frequently sleeps in class. Oh my god, that just reminds me of another great episode where Hina tries to be class president, and then people just look at Hina, it's just like, Hina, you are the exact opposite of what a class president is supposed to be. And that's great, but Hitomi is one of the supporting cast.
No,
And
but she Nita, his boss found out about this.
oh my god!
He gets the top lawyers of the business, the yakuza lawyers, to write her.
Oh, I remember that. What's wrong with you, Nita? Have you no balls?
Being a
Go
man
out.
father.
You gotta support your little girl.
He
just yeah, and then Hina comes into like the class president speech with like this amazingly sophisticated like, and then we will increase the school's revenues by doing this and this thing, and then like Hina gets to like the bottom of the page of the script, and then like you see her own scribble, and she says, and also we'll have free ice cream day. And then everyone in the school assembly is just like, what? But so Hitomi's great. You have Anzu, who Anzu comprises most of the serious or the more dramatic aspect of the anime. Anzu, when she appears, is freaking hilarious. She's an assassin to kill Hina, I believe, or to capture Hina back to their homeworld, right? But in order to resolve their problems, they have psychic rock paper scissors.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, and it's great.
Well, I think my favorite part is Nita tells Hina how to negotiate with the children that you're fighting with. Like, if you're gonna fight like children, here's how you do it.
There's an amazing part where where Ansu is just like, I'm gonna beat your ass, Hina, and bring you back to homeworld. And then Hina's just like, yeah, whatever, it doesn't really matter to me. And then Nita says, no, you can't say that. And he whispers in her ear, he says, and then Hina says, I'll beat you so hard that I'll make you cry on the floor. It's just oh my god, Hina's deadpan makes everything so much funnier. Like, and so we have Anzu, and Anzu, because she herself can't get back into homeworld, she can't leave because she doesn't have Hina with her. Essentially, like she failed in her mission, so she kind of yeah, she becomes a homeless person. And Anzu's story is not terribly funny. It comprises more of the emotional aspect of Hinamatsuri, where it's like you have all of these people who care for Anzu, basically.
I mean, it's literally a kid begging in the streets.
Yeah. Well, she's also taking food from like trash bags and stuff like that.
Yeah.
It's not depressing though. It's not meant to make it like, it's not sad. Like the series is not depicting it as sad. It's just like, this is what Anzu's doing. But it's emotional because it's like you have the adults around her who are just like, that's not what a young woman should be doing, It's not, there's nothing overly dramatic about it. It's not dramatic, it's just facts. It's just the facts of life, essentially. Like, yeah, I mean, she shouldn't be doing that. And that's sort of like the power of Hinamatsuri in its own way, just like the raw expression of things like that. Like, no dressing up of it. That's just how it is, But Anzu's great. She's the perfect child. As Nita. I'm Team Hina. Like, Antonio really likes Anzu. I'm okay with her. Like, Hina is my favorite character by far. She's amazing. That's kind of Hinamatsuri. Yeah, it's just this amazing show. Like, I've watched lots of anime, right? Hinamatsuri blew me away. It's not just that it's funny. It's really, really funny. There's also like not an innocence to it, but there's such a creativity to it. There is like Hina's like innocence. Hina's imagination is so interesting. Hina as a character is so interesting. And like while we were watching it, I was like, there's this theme of like lies. Like, not so much that lies can sort of transform into the truth, but like sometimes what the lie is, the meaning behind a lie is far more important than the contents of the lie. There's a wonderful moment where like Nita, oh my god, it has one of my favorite quotes in this series, but there's a moment where Nita is going to his family and it's just like, Hina's not my daughter, right? And then after a couple of events, he just says it. He's just like, yeah, Hina's my daughter. It's a lie. It's an outright lie. But like it's true because like Nita genuinely cares about Hina, right?
Hina's last name Nita as well.
Yeah. And so it's like, yeah, Hina's not his daughter, but the lie, like the fact that the emotion that he feels behind that lie is more important than the actual lie itself. It has my favorite quote where it's just like Nita makes up this whole bullshit story where Hina died, her parents died while she was eating chili shrimp. And Nita's daughter later on drunkenly says, "Shut up, Mom. Leave the poor girl alone. She's still traumatized over the chili shrimp." It's just such a silly, like absurd line that I fucking love it. There's also the wonderful episode where like Nita is portrayed as like a hardcore yakuza, and it's not true. Nita's like the nicest yakuza you could possibly meet in the world, but like the lie begins to take a life of its own outside of Nita. It doesn't matter if it's true or not, and that's such an interesting theme of Hinamatsuri's. Like the creativeness, the like the imagination sort of takes over real life in its own weird way. Um, it's 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 such an amazing show. Probably definitely one of the best shows of this decade. I'm gonna say right off the bat. Like I haven't seen any show like it's up there with like Parasite to me, or like Princess Jellyfish.
Jellyfish.
Yeah, yeah, it's I'm in love with it. Like Hinamatsuri is so funny, and it's so there's such a depth to those characters that I can't describe. And the last episode, like it ends without the characters. Like that's crazy, but it works. The last episode's great. You know, like oh, it doesn't need these characters. The point is not the characters, right? The characters are very important. The personalities of the characters are important, right? But what's not important is what's more important is the spirit behind those characters, the spirit of the people in that show. It concentrates solely on Mao. Like it's just like oh, and she's great. She's hilarious. Yeah, really, it's the best show of 2018. I think that's everything, right?
I think that is.
Yeah. So, Citrus, Hinomaruzumo, After the Rain, Pop Team Epic, personally for me, um, Release the Spice, or it's like, oh, and Hinamatsuri.
Matt.
All of those six, highly recommend them, except for Citrus and Pop Team Epic. Highly recommend four of them. Yeah, check them out.
You said you recommended Citrus.
To be, okay, that's true. But yeah,
we're gonna have to do a cut here. Where hey, I recommend Citrus. And
shut
then
up.
like,
I hate you. But yeah, After the Rain is woefully underappreciated. Release the Spice is very woefully underappreciated, and Hinamatsuri, yeah, properly rated. So
well, no, that Bunny Girl show is more highly rated than Hinamatsuri.
fair point.
And that Goblin Slayer show is also highly rated.
You know, why do you say stuff that makes me sad? But anyway.
And Sword Art Online of Association is also highly rated.
My God.
And it's like people need to watch.
We'll get to that. We'll get to those shows later. But for now, thank you for listening to us, listeners.
Cutting down a tree. Episodes cutting down a goddamn tree.
Thank you for listening to us, dear audience. Goodbye. Are you gonna say bye, Antonio?
Oh yeah. Goodbye. I like you guys. Cheers to the new year.
Cheers.